Good morning everyone! I'm in the shed right now and there can't be a better place to talk about Leca or clay pebbles and why I think they're a great substrate for hydroponics. So Leca is actually expanded clay balls. Well, clay pebbles, you hear it in the name, but it's basically clay that gets heated very high temperatures, which makes it expand and create this really light type of very airy substrate. And I think they are really good to use in hydroponics because it has really great properties in my opinion. Because it's very airy and the roots, when they're in the Dutch buckets for example, they will get access to a lot of oxygen, which is really great to minimize root rot. And also it has actually pretty good structure. You know, if you have the plants, you can have it just there and it's gonna be fine, whatever it is. I mean, if the plants are very small, then that might be a little harder, but you can probably pull it off. So in my Dutch bucket system, I use Leca. I have a lot of videos on that, so be sure to check it out. I have found it to be very good because of its properties, as I talked about earlier. Okay, you know, Leca really doesn't have like some really special property. It's not really super good in like any way, but it just does everything pretty good. But the main thing that's actually pretty special is that it's reusable. You can just wash it and use it again how much you want, I guess. I mean, maybe the clay balls break, but it probably won't happen. So unlike perlite and cocoa coir and peat moss and rock wool, they can't be reused. Or maybe you can clean the perlite, and I don't really know how the structure in cocoa coir will change when you have had plants for a long time. But with Leca, you don't have that problem. You can just wash them. Which brings me to my Dutch bucket system. So I have 10 Dutch buckets, or 10 buckets, with 8 tomato plants and 2 cucumbers. Now the harvest was very good, honestly, and especially the cucumbers, which is pretty weird, because the cucumbers actually faced some root rot, because when I opened the roots after the whole season, it didn't smell good at all. It was really awful actually. Now, I don't really think we can blame the Leca for that actually, because the pump that I had that circulated the nutrients, it broke down, so I didn't really use it in the last parts of the grow. And also the plants were kinda starting to slowly die because it was getting colder, so I think that had something to do with it. But you know, that root rot didn't really affect the harvest. I think I got so many cucumbers, but I really don't want it to happen again, because if it happens earlier in the season, maybe the plants won't really survive in the end of the season. So I have already washed them. I have a video about that actually. And honestly, I should have done that before I started growing in them, because they had a lot of dust in them already, which was pretty annoying, because the reservoir in the beginning had so much clay dust, you know, the small particles that got through. There was like a thick layer in the bottom, which was pretty annoying, and I don't think it's really good for anything. I mean, it just stands there and is annoying. Now, to clean Leca, you can, do it pretty high level or do it a little easier. What I have done is I've just washed them and like tried to agitate the water and try to get rid of some of the roots. But I do think that before I put the plants into the Dutch buckets, I'm going to wash them again with hot water actually. Not like boiling hot, but a little hot water. And I'm gonna try to get even more of the dust and the roots off. So yeah, that's what I think you should do. You should use hot water and try to agitate it, and I think you shouldn't have any problems. You can use chemicals, but I wouldn't really want to do that. But apart from everything I've said in this video that's bad about Leca, I still think it's really great. Because the ability to reuse it, I think that outweighs everything. Because, first of all, because it's expensive to buy perlite. Some people say it's cheap, but I think it's pretty expensive. Maybe cheaper than Leca, but you actually can reuse that. So the price per plant will actually be much less the longer you grow. So even though Leca needs a lot of energy to be created, it really outweighs everything else. Because perlite also needs energy to be created, and cocoa coir needs to travel a really long distance depending on where you live. If you live in Indonesia, then it won't be a problem, so you can definitely use that. And peat is not very good either, because it takes such a long time to be created in the nature. But when you have other alternatives, it's better to use them when they're better. Yes. So yeah, that's basically it. I hope you liked this video and I hope you learned something about Leca. It's really interesting to just talk about these really specific weird things that, that are not very normal, I guess. But I hope you think it's really interesting to talk about as well. So subscribe to see more nerdy things like this. Comment what you think about the video, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.